Hello again, and to all of our facilitators and on-mission parish team leaders, on behalf of Bishop Zubik, really thank you. Thank you for your generous service to our entire on-mission initiative. This is not going to be a made-for-TV movie today. What we are providing for you is a tutorial that we hope will help in those days right before you begin your parish consultation sessions. What we would like to do is introduce our guests who are going to help us to illustrate how the feedback packets might actually work in the pew. So for all of you, facilitators and team leaders, we know that you've seen the name Laura Wagner many, many times. This is our infamous Laura. Laura is on our parish services team, and she is just the person who helps us with so much. And this is her mother, Del Kirsch, who's just going to help us to show how this might work once people begin to get things in their hands. So a few notes just to begin before we actually go through the process. This is for the facilitators. We'd like to remind you to call the pastor or the administrator 1 week prior to your session. If possible, please try to get the pastor's cell phone number in case you would need to be in contact with him, especially en route if something were to develop. If you are unable to make the parish scheduled session, please call Marianne Moser at Parish Services as soon as possible. We will be sending to you a list through the email of phone numbers for Deacon Kevin and myself and members of the staff in case that you would need to get in touch with someone by cell. We remind you to arrive on site approximately 75 minutes before your session, and then to meet with the team leaders to coordinate the distribution of our handouts, which we will talk about, and the audience response system. For our team leaders, we also request that you would be on site 75 minutes before the session and then meet with the facilitator to coordinate the putting together of materials and then also the distribution of materials. We're going to have to make sure that there are pens in the pews or at the tables if a session is not in the church, and place the ARS clickers. They're going to look, this is the cell phone, obviously, but a clicker is going to be a little bit smaller than this. It's going to have a keypad on it. I think most of us have seen those. We've used them in our training. We're going to have all of those stacked up at the ends of the pews. We're going to ask our team leaders to make sure and do that before our sessions begin. Really importantly for our team leaders is to serve as ministers of hospitality, that we would be greeting people as they begin to come into the session. We do have we have several multiple sessions that will be hosted throughout the diocese. If you have a parish that is hosting more than one other parish attending, we're going to ask you that you have people sit in places in the church and indicate by a name tag or have a person standing there, this is parish A, this is parish B. Please sit in the appropriate location. And that's primarily so that when it comes to distribute the handouts, you'll know what goes to, let's just say, St. Susanna, and you know what goes to St. Gerard, so that we want to make sure and make those distinctions. At 7 o'clock, the meeting will begin promptly, and we urge you, even if people are coming in, this is to the facilitator, we urge you to make sure that you begin at 7 and have Father ready to start the prayer. Father or the deacon administrator or Sister Dorothy will have a prayer service that they will be using. The people will not have that. They will be asked just simply to pray along with the leader. That should not take more than 10 minutes. So Father will welcome people, say the prayer, and then the facilitator will come forward, introduce him or herself, and then play the bishop's video. This is Bishop Zubik's greeting to all of the faithful who have gathered. After the video has been shown of Bishop Zubik, you will then do a brief PowerPoint that will be on the laptop available to you so that you'll be able to see that even before the session begins. And basically, it will outline the agenda and the objectives for the evening session. Following that PowerPoint, facilitators will then play the model video presentation. That's the keynote that talks about all of the realities and how we've gotten to this place, the vision, etc. And then right into the next segment, the models will roll out. Those who have attended the district consultation sessions are familiar with what that will look like. The team leaders, immediately following the video presentation, will be asked to distribute the materials that will be necessary for the portion of feedback. And this will include an information packet, the feedback packet, a Q&A sheet that will be on a yellow piece of paper, and a 3x5 card. We believe that the 3x5 cards will be colored by Vicariate. We haven't purchased those yet, but we will be using different colored 3x5 cards depending on what Vicariate you are in. Just to back up for a second. When you arrive on site, team leaders, we're going to ask you to put together the information packet, the feedback packet, the yellow Q&A, and the 3x5 card, and begin to get those ready for distribution. So our suggestion is that you would kind of crisscross those and have those available in piles maybe of 10 to 20 so that you will easily be able to distribute those when it comes to that time during the feedback session. We will begin the feedback process after the video at approximately 8 o'clock. Facilitators, what we suggest is this. The first thing you will ask is that the person sitting in the pew next to the ARS clickers pass those down. So the ARS clickers are going to be passed down. At the same time that we're distributing the clickers, we're going to ask the team leaders to begin distributing the packets. So if you're in church, that should go pretty easily. You're just going down the center or the side aisles and you're giving to the person in the pew and asking that person to pass to the next person. After all people have their clickers, my suggestion is that you show it. Okay? We're going to need this clicker, so everybody, can you raise that up? Everybody have their clicker? You see that? All right, thank you. Is there anybody who doesn't have a clicker? Please raise your hand. One of our team leaders will come and get you a clicker so that you can also give your tallied results. You have a packet of information that we are going to lead you through at this time. In your packet is a yellow handout. Let's look at that yellow handout right now. I just want to read with you some of the questions that have surfaced that will help us be more prepared to offer the feedback. So let's go through a couple of these questions front and back as we begin this process now. Facilitators, we will be emailing you this handout next week so that you'll have ample time to be able to look at the questions. They will be things that have to deal with what is a campus, what is a lay ecclesial minister, what is a parochial vicar, what are we doing with our schools, and what are we doing with our cemeteries? As we've been going through district consultation, these have been issues that have been surfacing, and we'd like to get ahead of those in the session for your benefit. So that's what the yellow paper will do. When we have finished with the yellow paper, we'll ask folks to put that down, and then we will indicate to them, you have an information packet. Could everyone please locate their information packet? If you look at the front cover of your information packet, you're going to notice your parish name, and next to your parish name, you're going to notice some letters and numbers. You have V1D1. Those letters stand for Vicariate 1, District 1. It's a code that we use that will help us to facilitate and to tally the feedback. But for your purposes, we just want you to know that represents the region in which your parish is located. So you would offer some kind of explanation to those numbers because people will wonder, what do those numbers mean? Also, you'll notice that on the front of your paper is the listing of the On Mission for the Church Alive website. So you'll be able to access the website for a lot of information in the days and months going ahead. This information packet contains data, criteria, vision, goals, All of the materials that we discussed in the video tonight, including the models for your parish, are located in this information packet. What we'd like for you to do tonight is to just set this down for now, but be able to take that home with you so that after this evening's session, if you want to refer back, if you would like to clarify some questions, you want to look again at the models, this is for your reference guide. We're not going to be using this right now in our session of feedback. Instead, we're going to ask you to pick up your feedback packet. So if you could locate your feedback packet, and notice on the front of this feedback packet, there's an address. And the reason we have an address there is because if you decide through the course of this session that you need a little bit more time, or you'd like to think a little more on some of the questions, you certainly have that option. And when you work through that at home, please send it back to the address listed on the front of the feedback packet. We also want you to know that what you've seen tonight will be posted on the website after all of the parish consultation sessions in your vicariate are complete. So facilitators, none of this will go on the website until the last session in that vicariate. And typically that'll be about 6 to 7 days after the initial sessions begin. So we might want to clarify that for the folks. Okay, so we're going to be using this feedback packet tonight. You'll notice in your packet on pages 2 to 5, it's a recap of the models that we saw in the video. Facilitators, these page numbers will differ depending on your feedback packet. So you will have to become familiar with the feedback packet, which will be sent to you for every session that you are conducting by Catholic Leadership Institute. And those will be sent out ahead of time so that you will have plenty of time to go through both the information packet and the feedback packet for every one of your sessions. So you'll be wanting to look for an email from CLI, Catholic Leadership Institute, that will help you prepare your page numbers and to be familiar with what the people will be seeing. So we're going to ask you now to turn to page 6 in your feedback packet. And we're going to be asking some questions about you. What we're going to do is really use the feedback packet and our audience response clicker for this segment. So how this will work is, first we're going to ask a question and you're going to answer the question with your clicker. It is the same question that you will see listed in your feedback packet. So let's see if we can get started. Would like for you to look at the slide up on the screen and notice that we have to activate our clickers. This is a very important first step. And what you'll have to do is press any number on the keypad to activate your clicker. So would you go ahead and do that now and activate your clicker? This will allow your answers to be registered in the computer that we can then tally that information. Okay, so let's begin with question number 1. Question number 1, if you notice on the screen, please indicate your gender. 1 is male, 2 is female. You can press the appropriate number. Go ahead and set your clicker down for a second. Take your pen, and why don't you answer the question in your feedback packet right now while we're waiting for those results to tally. So we're going to keep a hard copy as well as the e-copy that we see up on the screen. We'll be following this process all the way through our feedback packet. So facilitators, I think we're going to have to make sure that people understand they're going to have to manage their clicker. We're going to get that response first, and then we're going to ask them to circle the response in their feedback packet. It will be very easy in the first questions that have to do with all about you. When we get to the questions where we're going to ask them more specifically about the models, it will take a little more time for them to think about what they want to answer on the ARS and also to answer the questions in the feedback packet. Okay, we're moving so well through these questions, and we've come now to question number 19. That's on page 9 of our feedback packet. And this is a ranking question. To the facilitators, we anticipate that the ranking questions may be a little bit more difficult for people to understand how to record. So we want to be very slow and very patient in this segment. If we notice question number 19, it says, this draft model suggests 2 campuses for your new potential parish. Again, we are on page 9, or you can look on the screen to see the question. Based on your knowledge and familiarity with all of the potential campuses, we are going to ask you now to rank your top 2 campuses. So please take your clicker, select your first choice by pressing the number indicated before the parish name. For example, if St. James is your first choice, press 2. If Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary is your first choice, you would press 1. Please look at the campuses now and press the number of your first choice. Now we're going to select your second choice. If Sacred Heart is your second choice, please press 4. St. Mary, you would press 3, St. James 2, or Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary 1. While we're waiting for those results to be tallied, please indicate in your feedback packet your ranking. And there you can see the results of our ranking question. Let's move on to question number 20. Then you'll go through, facilitators, we have a number of other questions until we come to a second ranking question. So depending on the number of models that they have from which to choose, they will have that number of ranking questions. In this particular feedback packet, the second ranking question has 5 campuses. So you would follow the same format as we did with the first one, but you're going to really have to take time for people to process those 5 campuses. Again, you just follow the same format as we did the first time. So for your first choice, you would select and then lead them through that. Then we'll continue to go through the ARS packet. Now we have finished our questions with the audio response. Would you kindly please at this time send the clickers back down to the end of the pew? Facilitators, it's really, really important that we get these clickers back. So we're going to ask you a number of times to remind people, again, even after we've asked for them to be passed down. We'll do that here, and then we'll do it again at the end of the session. While we're passing down those audience response clickers and we're waiting for our audience response results, what we would like for you to do now is to finish the additional questions that are on page 11 in your feedback packet. And also remember that you can ask any question for our facilitator tonight by writing your question on your 3x5 card. As you complete a question, please raise that up and one of our team leaders will come around to pick up those questions. Our facilitator will be using these cards during our question and answer period. So please take a few minutes now to finish answering the questions that remain in your packet on pages 11 and 12. At this time, while people are finishing those more qualitative questions, if they have any questions on their 3x5 cards, we would ask the team members to go around and begin to collect those cards and take those directly to the facilitator or to the pastor, depending on how you work that out with the pastor, so you can start to see what questions you're going to answer. We want to remind the facilitators that you will use the cards and not the audience by raising hands to get the questions that you're going to answer. Depending on the time and how that's going with the ARS feedback session, your Q&A could be limited to a few minutes, or you might have more than a few. We would anticipate that you're going to have between 15 and 20 minutes for the questions. So once you get them, you're going to use the cards as the question and answer, read the question, and then whatever you have worked out with the pastor, if he wants to take some or all of them, he's free to do that. If he would like to defer to you on some of them, that would work too. That would be an important thing that you would need to determine with father or the deacon before you or sister before you arrive on site. So we're facilitating that. After we have completed the facilitation of the Q&A, we're going to ask that people look at question number 32 on their feedback packet. This gives people the opportunity to give us their email address. It's a very important piece if people are willing and would like to receive ongoing communication with us. If they leave their email address, the questions that they have written in their packet and the questions that we have received on the 3x5 cards, we will be able to answer some of those questions, especially the top questions that seem to surface through the email that we receive in the feedback packet. So let's encourage them to do that we might be able to collect that back up. After the Q&A then, we remind people to send their feedback packets down. Let's collect those up, check to see again if any clickers have been left in the pew. Let them know that their models will be posted online after the last parish session in their vicariate. And then we will have a closing prayer. So we'll conclude the entire session with a closing prayer. Team leaders are picking these up. Everything's moving down. After the closing prayer, people are going to be leaving. They'll disperse. The facilitator and the team leaders will then be asked to make sure and collect all of the feedback packets. Also, we might want to remind them to take home again their information packet. So as they're getting ready to leave, remember to take home your information packet. This is something that you can use later when you get back home to look over. After the folks have left the church, we're going to collect all of the materials, our feedback packet, make sure we have all pens and all clickers out of the pews. We'll give those to the facilitator, and then the facilitator will have the responsibility to make sure that those go into the IT bins that we have gone over in our training sessions. So those folks who are doing the IT will then have all those materials. We'll put that in our van, and then that will be delivered to parish services the next day. So we want to make sure that we go through and clean up the pews, that there's nothing left behind, double check all of that. And if anything were to have been left behind that belonged to someone, it would be a good idea to make sure that father or one of the members of the staff received that. Just one little caveat we want to mention here. There are some sessions that have combined parish groupings. If you are facilitating one of those sessions, facilitators, we will be in touch with you and we will give some more information to you to help you be fully prepared to facilitate that. Basically, the ARS will go in the same way if the parishes that are combined have the same models. If there are parishes who have come for a combined session that have different models, we will do one ARS session, but we will have to put some slides in there that will be specific to a particular parish. So we would say, those from St. James, you're going to answer your questions now. Those from St. Monica, you're going to answer your questions in just a minute. And then we get all the questions from St. James, and then we go to St. Monica. We don't want to complicate that here, but just want to let you know that we will be in touch with you if you are facilitating one of those combined sessions. So, thank you to our helpful volunteers who have, you could see, there was some going through the packets. It's going to take us some time. We'll have to be patient with people. It'll be good for us to know those page numbers so that we can reference people to where we are. And just be slow with them and be patient with them. Again, if you have any questions of us before you go to your consultation sessions, don't hesitate to contact myself, Laura, or Catholic Leadership Institute. We are happy to help and answer any questions. So, from here to there, We thank you once again very, very much. And we ask for God to continue to bless us, most especially to bless our dear bishop, and to really send the Spirit upon all of God's holy people, that their hearts would be open to this great opportunity for the Church of Pittsburgh. Thank you.